Brought to you by ExpressCare Health and Skin Center. Get in, get out, get better.
Half day and welcome back to Healthy Living. I'm Jolene Tovis, and today we are talking about water. How much water should you be drinking daily, and what benefits does it have to your body? Joining me now is ExpressCare's Dr. Jitka Lom. Welcome, Doc.
Hi, Jolie.
So, can you share with me, why is it important to be drinking water?
Well, you know, Jolene, our bodies are about 75% water. We're actually more liquid than solid, and all of our organs need water. All of our organ processes need water for our lungs to work, for our kidneys to work, for our heart to work, for our blood to circulate, obviously. We need water, and as our body goes through its metabolic processes, it uses up the water. Of course, we excrete it, we urinate, and so we need to replenish. And if you remember that we're about 75% water, well, 75% of what you put in your mouth should be water.
Okay, so what are some of the benefits that water has to your body?
Again, it's a coolant. It's the best coolant, okay, that there is. It supports every process, including any process of nutrition, any process of the circulation in the body. I already mentioned cooling. Basically, any process in our body requires water for it to function.
Okay, so how can you tell if you are drinking enough water?
This is a difficult one because some of it depends on how do we know. We go by the sensation of thirst, which is very unreliable, especially in the very young and in the very old. Babies cannot always tell you that they're thirsty and dehydrated. In fact, they usually don't. Same with the elderly. As we get older, our thirst reflex goes down, and we don't recognize that we're actually thirsty. So and a lot of this actually depends on the climate outside, right? If it's a cold and wet day versus a very hot and dry day, we may be losing a lot of water through perspiration and not notice. And it also depends on our activity level. If we're exercising outside, working hard in the yard, we're going to require more water, and we're going to lose water in what's called insensible losses. That's sweating, in our breath, and so on. So anyway, the best way for you to measure if you're getting enough water is to notice your urine. This is what doctors do when a child, let's say a child or a person is dehydrated. We bring them into the hospital and we measure their ins and outs. The ins are what goes in their mouth or in their IV, and what goes out is through their urine. If they have a catheter, you can measure it very easily. Well, you don't need a catheter, but you can look in the toilet bowl and check and see, okay, is your urine cloudy? Is it clear? Is it light colored? You should aim for very light colored urine and be passing that on a regular basis. Don't hold your urine.
Okay, so what is the recommended daily intake of water?
Again, it's very difficult. Depends on what the person's doing, how physically active they are in the day, and on the climate. But the rule of thumb is, of course, 8 glasses of water per day. Again, that could be more or less depending on where you live and what you're up to. So just monitor your urine.
Okay, so is there such a thing as drinking too much water?
There actually is. It's called water intoxication. And it's not a very common, let's say, syndrome. It tends to occur when people are aggressively overhydrating themselves, like in a contest or something, or sometimes if they have a mental illness, or if they are, if they actually have a physical disease. And what it will do is, if you drink excessive amounts of water in a short period of time, you will dilute out your electrolytes, especially your sodium. We talked about sodium. If you go low, that's called hyponatremia. Your brain will swell, you'll have a seizure and go into a coma, and you can die. So you don't want to do crazy excessive things. A rule of thumb being no more than 1 liter per hour of water.
Okay. Now, is there a difference between tap water and bottled water?
Well, I think we're really so fortunate here on Guam because we do have fresh, clean drinking water. And you know, people can quibble over whether our drinking water from GWA is perfect. It's pretty great, and we're very fortunate compared to places in the world that A, don't even have water, or it's very dirty. So our tap water is perfectly fine. It may have a different taste, it may have a different mineral content than what you prefer. You may have a preference to have bottled water, But if you consider the environment and how much effort it takes to purify your water, it may be sufficient for you to use a filter at home if you really don't like the taste of the minerals in the water, which are not harmful, sometimes quite helpful. Or there's something called a Brita filter, or you can have a tap water filter, or you could, just choose to drink it. There's nothing wrong with it. Somehow people feel unless it's in a plastic bottle, it's not really clean.
Okay. Now, we talked about tap water and bottled water. Now, when you walk into the grocery store, you actually have different options
You have so many choices of
you
water.
You have distilled water and you have sparkling water.
Yeah.
So between the two,
right,
what
so that's
is
a really
best?
good point. Distilled water is something that's used for certain processes, like say your iron. Okay, we're supposed to put distilled water because then the minerals aren't there to contaminate. We do need minerals. They're actually very healthy for us, the minerals, the trace minerals that we find in water. Then the opposite happens and people market their mineral water. This comes from the special springs in France for, Perrier, whatever, or Fiji water, whatever, that have trace minerals that seem to be beneficial to your health, or they taste particularly delicious. But again, a lot of this is marketing. Most of the needs that you have are for the actual water. Don't drink distilled water. If you really like mineral water, help yourself, but it's more the content, the quality and the amount of the water that you're drinking rather than the brand.
All right, well, thank you, Doc.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Well, we are just getting started.